Today we're talking about one of the most important hormones for women over 40, progesterone, and why naturally boosting it can make a huge difference in how you feel. We've all heard that hormone levels start to drop in perimenopause and hit rock bottom in menopause, and most of the conversation centers around estrogen. But here's the truth. The first hormone to decline in your 40s is actually progesterone. And when it drops, you might notice symptoms like anxiety, poor sleep, mood swings, heavier periods, or feeling totally overwhelmed. The good news? There are simple things you can do to support it naturally during this phase. How do I know this? I'm Christy. I'm a nutritional therapy practitioner, and I help women in their 30s and 40s feel like themselves again with real food and root cause strategies. I'm in this stage too, and I want to show you exactly why progesterone is so critical, what's making it worse, and the number one way to support healthy levels naturally, even if you're no longer ovulating regularly. So if you're ready to nourish and support your body with simple strategies you can actually fit into your life, let's dig in. So let's start by talking about what progesterone does. Progesterone is your calming, balancing hormone. It helps you sleep, it supports mood and stress response, it helps balance out estrogen and prevent estrogen dominance, which can cause heavy periods, breast tenderness that is so common during this time period. It also supports your thyroid, and it helps keep your cycle regular. It's made after ovulation in the second half of your cycle, otherwise known as the luteal phase, by something called the corpus luteum, which is a temporary gland that forms from the follicle after it releases an egg. This is why that ovulation is so important. The stronger the ovulation, the more robust your progesterone production will be during that cycle. So even if you're not trying to conceive, supporting healthy ovulation is key for making enough progesterone and for feeling calm, grounded, and resilient throughout your cycle. But even if your ovulation is getting spotty or it's gone altogether, your adrenals can still make some progesterone. So supporting progesterone really does matter no matter what stage you're in both perimenopause and postmenopause. So why does progesterone drop after 40? Well, we're talking a lot about ovulation. And ovulation becomes irregular in perimenopause as your ovarian function starts to decline, which means less progesterone. The other reason is that stress takes priority. Your body will always choose survival over reproduction. So when you're under chronic stress, your brain decreases hormonal signals to the ovaries, which can delay or weaken ovulation. And since progesterone is made after ovulation, that means that less progesterone is produced. Another reason, which kind of goes hand in hand with the stress piece, is undereating and skipping meals. That's perceived as a threat and a stress. Yes, some stresses can be good, but your body may hold back on ovulation. When you don't eat enough or you regularly skip meals, your body thinks that food is scarce. That activates the stress response, and your brain sends fewer signals to the ovaries to ovulate. Ovulation requires energy and nutrients, so if your body doesn't feel safe or have enough of those things, it downshifts reproductive function. Even if you do ovulate, it might be weaker, meaning less progesterone is made. Eating regular, balanced meals tells your body it's safe, so it's more likely to support ovulation and healthy hormone levels. Another is that blood sugar crashes, overexercising, or poor sleep. Same thing. It increases stress in the body and can keep your body in that survival mode. Do you think that low progesterone is at play for you? I'd love to hear your experience in the comments. And even if you're menopausal or postmenopausal and no longer ovulating, your body still makes small amounts of progesterone, mostly from your adrenal glands. But if you've been under chronic stress for years, mentally, emotionally, physically, or nutritionally, your adrenals may not be functioning at full capacity. Chronic stress disrupts the brain's communication to your hormone-producing glands. When you're constantly in survival mode, your body deprioritizes things like hormone balance in favor of just getting through the day. And that can mean less progesterone output from your adrenals and more symptoms like poor sleep, anxiety, or feeling like your nerves are always on edge. You feel me there? So when your periods are still happening, getting wonky, or gone altogether, these tips still apply to you. So what is the number one way to boost progesterone naturally? Well, it's to support ovulation if it's happening for you, and if not, support adrenal health. And the best way to do both is to build a foundation that tells your body, I am safe, nourished, and steady. Here's how. First is to eat enough, especially protein and carbohydrates. Going low carb at this stage is not always the best choice. Now, of course, that is a nuanced conversation because everyone's situation is different, but generally speaking, I would not recommend low carb for women at this stage. Undereating tells your body it is not safe to ovulate. What to do to see if you're eating enough is to try tracking for a week with a tool like Chronometer. Chronometer is a free tool. There is lots of wonderful functionality in that free version. You can upgrade, of course, if you decide that you want to start saving recipes and things, but the free version is awesome. Track for a week or two and see how you land when it comes to nutrients. That's why I love it, is it gives a really detailed nutrient breakdown to see where you're falling. You might be surprised. Hey, if this video is connecting some dots for you, I would love it if you would hit like and subscribe or share it with a friend. It helps this information reach more women who need it. Thank you. The next is to balance your blood sugar. Every meal has protein, fat, fiber, and whole carbs. No skipping meals, especially breakfast. In fact, I typically recommend eating within 30 to 60 minutes of waking up. Now, of course, this goes against intermittent fasting that can be so popular. Again, this is a nuanced conversation. If intermittent fasting is working awesome for you, then great, continue doing that. But then I also wonder why you're watching a video on how to increase progesterone. It's not always about weight. It's about all the other metrics that impact your health and your cycle. Eating regularly can reduce cortisol and inflammation, which are two blocks to hormone production. So just something to think about. Again, you do you and whatever works well for you, but these are general recommendations that I typically like to start with. The next is to sleep for at least 7 to 8 hours. Your body needs rest to make hormones. This is truly your hormone gold mine, is sleep. So lack of sleep means more cortisol, means less progesterone. So sleep is critical here. The next is to lower your stress load. Build in pause points like 2 to 5 minutes of deep breathing, stretching, walking, or just even sitting without your phone and looking outside and noticing the leaves, the birds, and the sounds that you hear. This brings your brain into the present and helps decrease that stress response. And do these even when you're not feeling particularly stressed. When you're doing this in your everyday life, this helps build your stress resilience. The next is to support your thyroid. Your thyroid helps regulate ovulation. How? Because your thyroid helps regulate your hypothalamus and your pituitary glands, which are the command centers for hormone production. So how to support thyroid function is to make sure you're getting enough of the key minerals like selenium and zinc. Oysters are a powerhouse for this. They have both selenium and zinc. Sardines are also great too. Brazil nuts are a great source for selenium. Iodine is another one of the nutrients that's within the thyroid conversation. I don't put it towards the top because it is a little bit nuanced depending if someone has any bit of thyroid autoimmunity, but it is an important nutrient for thyroid health. If you know you tolerate iodine, making sure you get a steady flow of that within your diet is also important. And you can do that with seaweed. White fish is also great, like cod, and egg yolks are great sources of this. And the last is to track your cycle loosely. Now, of course, if you are no longer cycling or your cycles are just all over the place and it's impossible, then you don't need to do this step. This is more for those of us in the early perimenopause phase, because this is a foundational awareness tool that allows us to support the hormonal process more intentionally and catch issues that could be suppressing ovulation and therefore progesterone production. So look for signs like your temperature changes mid-cycle, which is a sign of ovulation. Cervical fluid is another one, energy shifts, mood, and sleep changes, all pertaining to where you are within your cycle. If you're not ovulating, skip the last step, but do the others, as this still helps support adrenal hormone production. Other tools that might be helpful to build on once you get those foundations right is to add in other nutrients like magnesium, especially a magnesium glycinate is very well absorbed. This can help support the nervous system. B6 is also great. This can help with progesterone synthesis. So really meaning that it helps after ovulation and getting the body clear of excess estrogen, which keeps progesterone more in balance. And the last is something like Vitex or a chasteberry. This can help support ovulation naturally. It's best to take it in the morning, and generally it's recommended for someone to take throughout their whole entire cycle if you're someone who struggles with ovulation and progesterone production. And remember, supplements are just tools. They are not magic. So working on those foundational pieces first is truly the best bet. So whether you're still ovulating or not, progesterone matters. And the best way to support it naturally is to build a body that feels safe, steady, and nourished. Earlier, I mentioned that blood sugar was one of the biggest hormone disruptors of all. I'll link to a video right here so you can learn how to stabilize your blood sugar and help reduce a ton of common symptoms in perimenopause. All right, you've got this, and I'm here to walk you every step of the way. See you in the next one.